Comedy Simp, the podcast you can't resist. Stephen Michael James, the host you won't wanna miss. From Seattle to the world, his humor will persist. Join the fun, get ready to enlist.
All right, hey, is this thing on? You might hear some buzzing here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Comedy Simp podcast. This is Stephen Michael James, your host. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget we got new merch. Check it out in the link. And yeah, man, we got lots of stuff to talk about today. I'm here in the car. I'm on I-5, right around Seattle. I've done this car thing before. This is the first time. I haven't done a podcast by myself in quite a long time. This podcast is kind of more of a guest central guest, eccentric guests are on this all the time. Comedy Simp. I love comedy. I try to get my friends on, comedians that I like. And but let's talk about stuff, man. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life, in comedy, in the world. A couple icons from my childhood are they passed away recently, no longer with us. Ozzy Osbourne, Hulk Hogan, both guys died in their early 70s. Geez, man, it's been crazy. Where to begin? I don't know. Well, let's start with me. Right now, I'm on my way to an open mic, a random open mic down in Tacoma. Guys, I live in a place called Granite Falls, Washington, which is the nearest big city, if you could even call it that, is Everett, Washington. It's about 30 minutes away. But yeah, I live in a small town. Granite Falls is, when I first moved up here in 2019, we rented a house in Marysville. Because whenever you move unless you're rich, you don't buy a house right away. You got to move to a place, you got to figure it out. So I got a job at Frito-Lay in Everett. We lived in Marysville. We rented a place, and we were looking at houses that first year, everywhere from Lake Stevens, Marysville, Arlington, and we ended up picking Granite Falls. New neighborhood, brand new house, 2020, pre-pandemic, And it's funny because, well, it's not really funny, but it's, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. People say it's funny when it's really not funny. Like, can we come up with a better way of describing random occurrences? It's interesting, I guess. uh, but regardless, I used to work with a guy at Frito-Lay who did some time, had some drug problems, throughout his life, and seemed like he was trying to clean things up. But he was an older dude, probably in his mid 50s, really fit. He had that jail physique, where you have nothing to do for 14 hours a day, so you do dips and push-ups. But he was a nice guy. And when I told him that we got our house in Granite Falls, he was like, whoa, Granite Falls, huh? Like, so I was like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, it's the meth capital of the United States. I was like, really? And sure enough, you Google it, in the early 2000s, Rolling Stone published an article about the town of Granite Falls. And there was definitely a meth problem at the time. Kids not graduating, kids in high school being high, early pregnancies, the good old stuff, good old things. But in my experience, it's been just fine. I mean, I lived in some pretty crappy neighborhoods growing up. Woodland wasn't too bad, but Sacramento, especially Rancho Cordova, I mean, I didn't even walk around the neighborhood in Rancho. But Granite Falls is it's just a small town. There's no crime there. It's very white. So if you're a person of color, probably not the most welcoming for you. Although we do have all the races in Granite Falls. We have Asians and Hispanics, and even a couple black people. At least what I heard. Um, but yeah, Granite Falls. I live up there, so it's a long drive. I do a lot of driving to go to these comedy gigs. I mean, for me, like I said, Everett's about 30 minutes away. Seattle's an hour. Kirkland, where I sometimes do the old Sam's open mic at the Whiskey Mile. I mean, that's 45 minutes. And so now we're at the Tacoma, and Tacoma, unfortunately, Tacoma is one of the few places that really seems to enjoy me and enjoy my comedy. So I go there pretty often, and there is there's a little thing going on tonight presented by my friends at On the Mic Comedy. It's it's another comedy competition. I'm so tired of these competitions. It's like an open mic isn't enough. Stand-up comedy isn't enough. You got to offer money and tips, and I just want to perform, man. And honestly, the reason I'm going tonight is this guy Casey McLean is going to be doing a feature set there, or at least just doing a set there. And he's, one of those comics that's kind of on the rise a little bit. He's going to be at the Great Northwest. What is it? Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, something like that, in Spokane with Bert Kreischer, just like my buddy Alex, who's doing the uh, Vancouver gig for the Great Outdoors Comedy Fest. So, anyways, Casey's on the rise. He's had a great special that came out last year. He does a podcast with another comic, Jess Everett. And no, guys, I enjoy the guy. I don't see him very often because he lives down south. So, really, my reason to even going to this open mic is just to watch Casey. um, I mean, because I never win these contests. I just did a contest last week, the Comedy Battle Royal. This guy, Chris Talbot, nice dude. He puts on these little competitions, these comedy contests every week. The audience votes, and then you get money, you get a feature spot the next week. And first time I did it, it was at that Kangaroo and Kiwi place, and that place was really cool. I mean, say what you will, it's a little dive bar. It's Australian, not much going on, but the room was a great room. It was a hot room. The audience seemed to really enjoy me. Um, and so this next one was at another place called Old Stove Brewing, which wasn't too far away. And breweries they're one and the same, man. Like, I don't, if it's a small brewery, a large brewery, you're pretty much getting like the same vibe every time, with that shiny concrete floor and raw wood and the dark wood and that kind of stuff. Um, so did a set there, and it didn't go too bad. It was a nice room, table set up. The brewery is huge. It's giant. As soon as it's very confusing. Like, I peeked in there several times to see where the bathrooms were, because it wasn't easy to see. And I constantly have to pee, for whatever, even now, I haven't even been in the car that long, and I'm like, I gotta pee. So, I go there. It's got a big parking area, which is cool. Giant outdoor seating area. There's like a guy selling food out there, possibly bathrooms outside. I don't know, but the the outdoor area was nice. A lot of tables, umbrellas, sunny. It was a nice summer Washingtonian day. Summer Northwest day. The summers that everybody raves about. It was one of those. The When you first walk in, there's like a bar, like one of those 360. I don't know how you describe it, but it's like a square bar where all four sides are. There's a bar. It's like Cheers, you know, the show. Sometimes you wanna go. I don't want to get demonetized or demonetized. You know, I love that that term demonetized because it can mean two things. You know, it can mean no money, we're taking your money away, or that you're a demon and we're telling everybody that you're a demon. Or is that demonized? Demon. Oh, it's probably demonized. Yeah. Well, you live and you learn, right? So in the back of the brewery there, I mean, this brewery was huge, you know. So on the other side of the the four-sided bar, there was booths, tables. You walk a little bit farther, and there's another spot, and that's where all the barrels are. That's where a bunch of the big old tanks are, where they make the beer, and that's where Chris had the show set up. So it had the the little PA system, the mic stand, a bunch of tables. Chris runs a really great show. I mean, for a independent producer who's not at a comedy club, that guy he's doing a great job, man. I mean, he's advertising, he's collecting money, he's paying people. I mean, can't complain. I went, my buddy Rob Conroy, Rob C was with me, had him sign up. You guys know Rob from the podcast. So he was there. Some of the other comedians, some females. We had like Lori Peck, Marie Elizabeth. Um, there was an Allie there. Allie Deedle, I think is her name or their name. Sorry if you're non-binary. I'm trying to get everybody's pronouns correct. Rich Snyder? I don't know. Was Rich there? And PJ, of course, the infamous PJ was there. And yeah, we all did our sets. Some of us did better than others. This one girl, she's very Asian. Her name is, oh God, I'm forgetting her name, man. I'm so sorry. Uh, Geez, it's like on the top of my head. It's like it's one of those. It's like a Meadow or her name's not Meadow, but I'm so sorry I forgot your name. But she's a nice girl. She's from China, so she is Chinese, very thick accent. Um, but she went to the Whiskey Mile for the for her first time doing comedy, maybe like a month ago. She was at the Whiskey Mile. And really nice girl. Uh, a little funny. I don't remember much of her material. And then she she did her set there, and she seemed to do really well. I mean, she was also very nice to me, which I take note of. People, you know, comedy is weird, and being an adult is weird because how do you approach people these days? I mean, sometimes I see people that I know they know me, I know them, but I just don't know. Like, are we cool enough to hug? Should we shake hands? Should we fist bump? Like, what do we do? I don't know. There's very few people. Like, I have this weird thing with my really good friends, and I don't know why I do this, but like, so it's not that okay, for example, if you're a stranger, right? You're another comedian. Sometimes I'm ballsy. If I'm feeling good, I had my caffeine and my kratom, I'm gonna walk up to you and say, "Hey, nice to meet you. My name is Stephen Michael James. Stephen." Usually I just say I don't usually say my full name. I just say, "Hey, I'm Stephen." To introduce myself. But sometimes I don't. Especially in a place like club comedy where you have an audience there. It's very the tight. There's a space where the comics are allowed to stand, and it's just kind of tight. It's kind of tight. Uh, so it's kind of hard to have conversations with people because you don't want to interrupt the show. You don't want to bother the people that are watching the show. And then you're also like paying attention because you don't know when your name's going to come up. Sometimes at club comedy, the host doesn't even put your name on. They'll put like 5 people's names down, and then you got to wait around and keep checking the list like an idiot. So if you're one of those guys, stop doing that, please. Some of us have families. Some of us like to plan things. Uh, I don't even know where I was at, man. Um, so back to the Comedy Battle Royale. I had a decent set. It was not my best, but not my worst either. It was just okay. It was okay. I'm starting to learn what the honk for democracy. Oh, sorry, man. I did not honk. You know, am I honking because I want democracy? Am I honking because it needs to be? I don't know. It just doesn't do anything, people. It doesn't do anything. Protesting, I have my own opinion. Like, I'm not going to get into that. Who cares about protesting? My set went okay. Paul Curry. Shout out to Paul Curry. Paul. Nice dude. I've seen this guy around a couple times when I started doing comedy, but very soon, very quickly after that, he was in the big leagues doing his Dungeons and Drag Queens, getting booked at places like Emerald City Comedy Club and the Laughs Comedy Club. But he stopped me and he said, "Hey, how's it going? See you, Michael James." So I love that too. But, to the point, what I was saying earlier is that, like with friends, people I don't know, I'm kind of a little shy towards. People I like, I do the fist bump or the hug or the side hug. And then people I really, really like, people that I consider friends, I don't do anything with. Like when I see Rob or see Nick Cody, or see my friend Jake Bowden. We just meet up, maybe because we see each other. But I feel like, I don't know, I gotta start doing something more like hugging. Like I like to hug. That's I like a good hug. I don't care. I'm not uh there's nothing about a hug between two men that bother me. Like hugging is good. Brotherly love, that kind of thing. That's what I would love to be the normal thing for me, but it's just, especially in Seattle, um, people are kind of like, "Don't touch me," and I get it. I've been the same way. I wouldn't want to be touched in certain situations, especially like every other person at a comedy club has gone through some sort of a traumatic experience, that had to do with physical touch. So, speaking of physical touch, shout out J Marks, greatest masseuse in comedy. Although I've never got a massage from him, I bet it would hurt. That guy's got strong hands, strong build. Yes, strong build, J Marks. I want to get J Marks on the podcast. Anybody know J Marks? J Markovitz? I know his real name. Bet you didn't know he had a real name. Well, I do. I do because I'm the comedy simp and I pay attention. Anyways, so yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm just driving. Let's talk about Hulk Hogan or Ozzy. Let's talk about Hulk Hogan first, because I have a very love-hate relationship with wrestling. When I was a very young boy, we're talking, I'm about to turn 40, guys. But when I was a very young boy, I would say, uh, yeah, 5 years old, like 1990. We're in 2025, and I'm taking you all the way back to like 1990. Some of my earliest memories of like those years, because I don't have a lot, were watching wrestling, in particular Hulk Hogan. Like, you'll never forget the red and yellow outfit. You'll never forget the guy ripping his shirt open. You'll never forget the guy with the yellow handlebar mustache. And the guy had a look, an iconic look, during a time where everybody was, well, it's kind of like now everybody's trying to be iconic, but it was It was new. It was new. The guy was huge too. I mean, this isn't a history of Hulk Hogan. Like, I don't know all of his details, but just kind of a general breakdown, of his summary of his history there. He started wrestling in the 70s, grew up in Florida. Obviously, you could tell he's a Florida guy with the blonde hair. Um, but he didn't originally want to be a wrestler. He was trying to be a rock star, a rock and roller. This is back in the time, the mid 70s, Leonard Skinner came out of Florida, Tom Petty. Rolling Stones were not, they were British, obviously, but they were huge in the 70s. He had all the stuff in California. So he was a rock and roller guy. He played bass, mostly played bass, which I always thought was interesting, an interesting choice that Hulk Hogan played bass, instead of guitar or instead of drums. I mean, Hulk Hogan was at the time like 6'7". He was huge. Nobody in any rock band was that big. I mean, he was a giant. He was literally, he was a living superhero, you know? So, yeah, wrestling back then to a little kid, during that time, I'm pretty sure like the only reason I saw it was maybe my parents watched it or my older brother. There wasn't a lot of TV back then, and I don't have a lot of memories back then, but I could definitely tell you like, so I remember specifically Hulk Hogan. I remember the Macho Man, Randy Savage. I remember the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, the Ultimate Warrior, uh, Kamala, not Harris. And the list goes on and on, all these wrestlers. And then um, in the kind of the few years later, I'd say early to mid 90s, I somehow got these tapes, VHS videotapes, uh, gifted to me somehow. Guys, my mom was dating she had some questionable choices in men after her and my dad got divorced. And definitely there were some substance abuse issues. And there were some guys that came in and out of her life. And I believe that's where these tapes came from. Um, and some of the tapes I can remember were like Rampage 92. Rampage 92. That was one of them. Uh, I remember SummerSlam, maybe 91, SummerSlam 91. These were Coliseum Home Video, was the name of the company. They're VHS tapes, really cool, really bright, colorful. I used to walk through Blockbuster Video when I was a kid and look at these tapes. They'd always catch my eye. I rented a bunch of them, particularly WrestleMania 5, Hogan versus Macho Man, King versus King, Macho King. Yeah, I remember that one, guys. Took place at Trump Plaza as well. Look it up. Um, but yeah, Hulk Hogan, SummerSlam 94 was another one. So here's the thing. So by 1994, Hulk Hogan was out of the WWF. That was the one, that was the main one that everybody watched. And, the wrestling experts will tell you about how wrestling came up and territories and independent wrestling and what Vince McMahon created and all that. But just for the sake of this story, you know, um, there was one wrestling program called the WWF that most people watched, that most people knew. Hulk Hogan was the star of it. He was the champion of it. He wrestled like Andre the Giant in front of 93,000 people at Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan, WrestleMania 3. Yes, I know all this useless information, guys. Um, so in the mid 90s, I had a lot of turmoil in my childhood, a lot of back and forth between parents because of the divorce. drug issues, parents going to jail, having to live with my grandma. My dad lived in Fresno, visited him. And during this time, I would escape into different things in different forms of media. I would escape into movies, sometimes music, not too much. I used to listen to the station called KSFM 102.5, your station for R&B and old school hip hop, or old school R&B and hip hop, something like that, with Davey D. So I'd listen to like hip hop before I even listen to rock music. I was way into like horror stuff. Even as a kid, I loved Chucky and Goosebumps. Um, Used to play Pogs, and comic books were big. Comic books were huge for me. Uh, but wrestling was like a thing that I discovered, right when I was in that preteen, from like 9, 8, 9. I mean, I watched it a little bit, but so in the mid 90s, when I was, 10, 11 years old, that's when I got way into wrestling. And that's when wrestling started to become way more mainstream. There was a guy, Ted Turner. Ted Turner was a media mogul, guy who ran several broadcasting stations. You guys remember TNT, TBS. I think he had some other stuff, Turner Classic Movies. Guy had a lot of money. And, there's this thing with rich guys, especially billionaires, where it becomes a dick measuring contest. And so Ted Turner, the head of all these channels, wanted to go up against Vince McMahon in the wrestling business, and he bought World Championship Wrestling or the National Wrestling Alliance, one of the two, but it became World Championship Wrestling. And Ted Turner, being the billionaire that he was, gave his new head of creative a blank checkbook. And so what did this guy do? He started signing former WWF wrestlers. Guys like Kevin Nash, aka Big Daddy Cool Diesel, Scott Hall, also known as Razor Ramon. And this was the first time that children like me, were seeing that, wait a minute, these characters are actually real people, and they can have a second life when they disappear off of TV. And so there was this huge thing that happened in 96 where Hulk Hogan, uh, I think maybe it was 95, where he was signed. He was signed to the WCW. At the time, he didn't want to do any wrestling. He was just doing a TV show called Thunder in Paradise. Chris Lemon, son of the legendary actor Jack Lemmon, but him and Chris Lemon were doing this show. And the money was just too good, so he went back to wrestling. And all these other guys that the WWF started retiring because they thought they were getting too old, all of a sudden started coming to this other league, this other wrestling league. And it was starting to blow up a little bit, but people were tired of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's entire career was being a superhero, a good guy. And in the 90s, grunge, Kurt Cobain, Nine Inch Nails, Quentin Tarantino, like there was a lot of good Train Spotting. There was just so much like edginess happening in the 90s that started to bleed over into all media, including wrestling. And so they figured, all right, we got to do something to compete with this giant WWF. What are we going to do? And they started to bring in more realistic elements, things that were real. They started to blur the lines between, reality and script. And one of the biggest things they did was they changed Hulk Hogan's character. They made him a bad guy. And this was unprecedented as a kid, as a wrestling fan. This is the first time that somebody, I mean, you've had what was called heel turns in the past. Now, to all you guys who don't know about pro wrestling, at least, and to be fair, I'm not a huge fan of it these days. But those of you guys who don't know about pro wrestling, the good guys are called the faces, and the bad guys are called the heels. So I don't know why. My guess is the face has to do with them having a pretty face. You know, everybody, the good guy, there's never an ugly good guy. I mean, there is now, but back then it was like Superman, Batman, that kind of thing. And then the heels, I don't know, maybe stomping you on the face. Jerry Lawler style, Jerry the King Lawler. God, traffic is just ridiculous here. I'm like looking at the Space Needle right now, guys. Looking at the old Space Needle. Um, so yeah, wrestling, this made big news. This whenever you know, everybody's looking, or at least at the time, it was very hard to, I guess I'm not putting it the right way. I guess it's very hard to make any sort of impact now, but I think back then it was hard to make an impact without the internet. You know, the internet was around. I was there, guys, but it was very limited, very primitive, and only people with money had it. So the only thing on the internet was like clip art and text. You know, maybe some photos, but not a lot. Ooh, this guy's, oh shit, this sucks. Guy with an orange shirt all parked on the ground. That's terrible. Um, so yeah, I watched a lot of wrestling during this time, and I also watched the other company, and it was really exciting. You know, it was almost like sports. Now I'm not going to tell you it's all you guys that are sports fans. I mean, you can't compare, obviously, wrestling and sports, but it was like sports in the sense that people kept trading sides. You know, as soon as a contract was up, somebody would go to the other side. You know, it's very exciting. And you know, Hulk Hogan cemented himself as, you know, the greatest star to ever come out of that, to ever come out of wrestling. He was, I mean, I was talking to my wife about it. If you say Hulk Hogan, or if you say wrestling, most people will say Hulk Hogan, even now, because that's how much of an impact he made. I guarantee you, more people know who Hulk Hogan is than even The Rock. You know, especially if you say Dwayne Johnson. Some people don't even know that that's his real name. But even though Dwayne Johnson's been in all these movies and he's just a giant superstar, I guarantee you, more people know Hulk Hogan than they know Dwayne Johnson, because there are people that haven't watched TV since the 80s that are still out there. You know? But here's where things get interesting. You know, as I'm getting older and I have had experiences in life, and I've even got to meet people that were like, you know, semi-famous or well-known. Um, you realize that people are not larger than life. Like Hulk Hogan, the character, was larger than life, but uh, once you start to figure out who the person is, I don't know, like maybe that changes how you feel. And so I've had these people that I have admired and looked up to over the years make some really bad choices, in my opinion. You know, musicians, because I used to be, you know, rock and roller. There's like musicians from bands I liked that did really bad things. I mean, there's comedians I've liked that, you know, did some questionable things. And like, you know, wrestlers are, some would say, some of the worst types of people, you know, a lot of infidelity, a lot of backstabbing, a lot of just like meanness. Uh, Now, I'm not saying anything negative about. I, he. It started in when I got YouTube. So almost 20 years ago, when I got YouTube, I was still into wrestling, not like active wrestling, but that was during the time, I guess, when everybody gets the internet for the first few years. It's a lot of looking up stuff that you like. And if you're like me, you still do that today, but a lot of people are just TikTok, social media now. They don't look anything up. They don't use the internet for that. Um, but yeah, I used to watch these videos. They were called shoot interviews, and they were kind of really these underground, grainy, usually videotaped in a hotel room interviews. Just the wrestler and the camera, and they would just tell stories and talk about all the behind the scenes and the backstabbing. And time again, all this bad stuff started to come up about Hulk Hogan. Uh, a lot of just ripping people off and lying and cheating and uh, not necessarily the greatest hero. And then he tried to do the Osbournes thing with his family. He did a show on VH1 called Hogan Knows Best, like father knows best, and and you could tell he was just trying to push his kids, trying to like get that money train going, and maybe this was pre-Kardashians even. It was like the Osbournes they barely scratched the surface on what the Kardashians did as far as reality stars, but he was trying to make his kids into reality stars. His son Nick, tried to make him like a rapper and then a race car driver. Tried to turn his daughter Brooke into like the next Britney Spears pop star, uh, Ashley Simpson type, and none of it worked out. And then his son got in a really bad accident in a really nice, expensive car and ended up accidentally, killing one of his best friends. Which, at the time when I'm a young guy, don't really understand the weight of it. But now, as an older guy, there's been a lot of death in my life recently, and I'm, going through some stuff right now personally, and there's some stuff happening in my family right now that it's just, if you guys, I'm just not ready to talk about it, but if you guys only knew, it's just tough, man. Life has been very tough lately. And anyways, what happened with Hulk, the Hulkster, was he got sued because of the family of the kid that got killed in the car crash. And yeah, his family and things it just went downhill with his marriage. A lot of things came out about the past, and Randy Savage, Macho Man, died, and you know there was bad blood between them. He was arguably the second biggest star at that time, so everybody was, their relationship was always, hypothesized. People always wondered what it was really like. Um, Yeah, and I just over the years have seen Hulk Hogan do these things, and I always like followed him a little bit. Tried to do these reality shows, American Gladiators, show up on podcasts. Remember when I was collecting Funko Pops, his was very hard to find. I actually have one of them still, but yeah, one of his early ones that I was looking for, I could not find. And yeah, it's just then what happened was the Gawker thing. And so Gawker, there's a documentary on Netflix. I don't remember what it's called, but there was a website in the 2010s called Gawker, which was kind of like a TMZ, 2Fab. gossip. And Hulk Hogan, not married, was friends with a radio DJ. I think he was from the East Coast, a radio DJ named Bubba Love Sponge. Bubba had been around since the WCW days. I don't know the extent of their relationship and the history, but I imagine they just known each other for a long time. I would imagine Hulk Hogan went on a bunch of radio, radio shows throughout time. Throughout time. Um, anyways, uh, he hooked up with Bubba the Love Sponge's wife consensually. It was like a thing that they worked out. Some guys are into that. That's their kink to have another guy with their wife. Definitely not mine. But when he did that, they were secretly filming Hulk Hogan. They secretly filmed it, and then they tried to sell that tape to Gawker, and Gawker posted it, and Hulk Hogan felt like he had a lot of damage done to his reputation, and he sued, and Gawker went out of business. And then if you watch the documentary, there's like a lot of stuff about who was backing Hogan, and he had a really good legal team behind him. But I mean, he was pretty much broke because of the crash with his son. But yeah, then let's come to the last couple years, and I even followed him, with the Hulk Hogan's Beach Shop. He had like this store in Florida. He had a couple of them, and I wanted to check him out. Like he's an icon from when I was a kid. But when he became like MAGA Trump, he became like Trump Hogan. I'm not one to let politics like dictate, how I feel about people, unless they're very, very just ridiculous in their views. But with Hulk Hogan just like creating the Trump t-shirt and all that kind of stuff, it just really bothered me. I just didn't like it. And then there was like there were some interviews where he said the N-word a few times, and it's very derogatory. And yeah, it's not a good look, and it's a perfect example of somebody who had everything. And I won't say that he lost it all, because he still has a lot of support, a lot of fans out there, but his legacy, he could have gone down as the greatest of all time. And some people will say that, but how you act out of the ring dictates how people are going to remember you as well. And so, yeah, it's sad. And it was 71 years old. Now, he was a big guy, a lot of surgeries. The guy had at least 20 surgeries. I've had one hernia surgery, and it was not. I don't recommend being cut open at all. Like I want nothing to do with doctors and surgeons. But yeah, no, it could take a strain on your heart. I'm sure he did a lot of steroids, a lot of drugs, alcohol, smoking, working his body. And even then, man, he still made it 71 years. Insane. Insane. My grandpa died at 73. My mom's mom, back when I was a kid. Maybe that's why I remember all this, He died. Hulk Hogan became my new grandpa. I don't know. But yeah, it's a good lesson and a good example on how to conduct yourself, outside of the stage, outside of the ring. It's very sad. I don't know. I'm interested to see how people will remember Hulk Hogan in a couple years from now, if they even remember him at all, because nobody remembers anything. The other thing, though, the other person that died was Ozzy Osbourne. He had his very last performance, the final concert on July 5th in the UK with the original members of Black Sabbath. And And yeah, just like 3 weeks later, he died. And I don't know the extent of it. Some people say that he possibly had assisted suicide, which wouldn't surprise me. But Ozzy, man, legend. And just to be clear, just like Hulk Hogan, Ozzy was not close to being perfect. He did a lot of bad things in his life too. I mean, I'm sure he screwed people over. Him and his wife conspired to screw people over, uh, cut people off, did a lot of drugs, alcohol. He was really bad with alcohol, almost worse than drugs, I think. A lot of mistakes, man. He made a lot of mistakes over the years. Um, so how did I first find out about Ozzy? Well, when I was becoming a teenager, right around the time of I was getting out of wrestling, the late 90s, early 2000s, I started getting into music a lot. Music was replacing wrestling for me. I loved, there were a couple magazines that I would flip through whenever I went to the grocery store. The ones I remember the most were Hit Parader and Metal Edge. Those were the two that I would see all the time. Sometimes I would see Circus, or there's even another one that I'm not thinking of right now. But I used to like the bands Korn, Metallica, Green Day, The Offspring, uh, Marilyn Manson, Nirvana. This was all stuff I listened to when I was a kid. And Ozzy's one of the ones that you know every kid I think gets introduced to at some point in their life. Um, those magazines, you'd flip through them and you'd see articles with Ozzy, or they would have advertisements for T-shirts and posters. And Ozzy was an artist, a singer that my mom used to like and saw a few times. So something that we would bond over a lot. We would talk about Ozzy, talk about the concerts that she went to. She used to have like bands use her garage to perform in back before I was born. And they would play Ozzy type stuff. And she knew about Randy Rhoads. And so my second concert was Ozfest 2000. The first concert I went to was his band Garbage, alternative rock from the 90s. And then the second one was Ozfest. And this was my first festival. I went with my mom, and it was just what an unbelievable experience, man. I mean, the bands that I saw that day, I saw like Pantera, Ozzy, Static X, Godsmack, Disturbed. It was their first tour. Um, the list goes on, man. So many great bands. POD, and it was peak new metal. The bands I was really into at the time, Korn, Limp Bizkit, all the Family Value stuff. There was nowhere to be found, but Ozzy was great, man. Ozzy was amazing, and his his icon, icon. I don't know, what do you call it? Iconry. I don't know. His imagery was everywhere. I mean, devils everywhere, big O's, gothic shaped O's, fire, flames. It was just an overload of the senses, man. It was so just amazing. And I went to Ozfest 3 times. The second Ozfest actually had Black Sabbath, the original lineup. Um, and honestly, actually, I just remembered this. Even before Ozfest, I would say 1998, 99. My brother, I used to live in Oregon for a short time with my brother, and he would get High Times magazine, and they had an article on Ozfest 99. And I remember reading about, because there was a lot of crossover between weed and heavy metal. And so, I remember reading about Ozfest 99 and just in my head thinking it was the coolest thing ever. It rained. I remember it rained. It wasn't even a festival. It was a festival. It wasn't a tour. It was like two dates. So yeah, man, Ozfest 2001 was the original Black Sabbath. I mean, we had like Marilyn Manson, Hatebreed, Down, Black Label Society. I mean, I saw so many bands at those first three Ozfests. Queens of the Stone Age, Linkin Park, Papa Roach, Methods of Mayhem, Drowning Pool, Mudvayne, Slipknot, System of a Down. I don't know if I said that. And Ozzy just always put on an amazing show. He always does. He always just gave it, man. And he kind of had a career resurgence during that time period as well. You know, the Osbournes. He had the TV show, and he reached legend status. You know, and to this day, man, Black Sabbath, the first four albums, I would say actually the first three albums. I don't really listen to Volume 4 that often, although Snowblind I just listened to earlier. But those first three Black Sabbath albums, perfect. They're absolutely just the best rock ever written. You know, like, and as a guitar player, I mean, the riffs are so fun to play. Tony Iommi, the tune down, and it's just the imagery, man. The crosses, Satan, fire, brimstone, hell, heaven. You know, and I even saw him in 2007. I was starting to get out of rock, you know, I was getting out of metal. I was just really more into being a hippie type guy, wearing a lot of tie dye, listening to Neil Young, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Uriah Heep. You know, I liked rock, but I was more into the classic rock at that time. And 2007 rolls around, and Ozzy has this album coming out called Black Rain. And 2007, man, people stopped buying CDs. So I don't know how they're still around now. Makes no sense to me. But 2007, people were not buying CDs. So that summer, 2007, he came out with an album called Black Rain. And if you bought it within the first couple months, it came with a free ticket to Ozfest. So hell yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get a ticket to Ozfest. And then this guy Mike that I worked with, he bought a copy of the album too, and then decided he wasn't gonna go to Ozfest. So I went with my mom. It was cool, man. It was like 7 years later. You know, at that time I had gone to concerts by myself, and I was an adult, so it was cool to bring my mom to a concert, and we had a good time. I mean, the bands that year were not as good. There was definitely some more pay to play type bands. You know, there's this band Lordy. I remember their hit Hard Rock Hallelujah, or like Mondo Generator was Nick Olivery from Queens of the Stone Age had this band Mondo Generator. I was really excited to see them. Hatebreed obviously was on the lineup in this moment. I don't remember too much of it, but it was fun. It was a good time. I can say that I saw Ozzy 4 times in concert. I saw him with Black Sabbath once. Uh, and if not for Ozzy, I mean, there was so much that we wouldn't have today, especially Zakk Wylde. You know, people talk about like, you know, Jake E. Lee, not Jake E. T, Jake E. Lee and Randy Rhoads, the guitar players from Ozzy's early career. Talk about Tony Iommi, the guitar player from Black Sabbath, but you know, Zakk Wylde got his start with Ozzy. He wrote "Mama, I'm Coming Home." He played on countless albums, and Zakk Wylde started his own band, Black Label Society. He put out tons and tons of just amazing albums of just rock and soulful, just ballads. And if you don't know Zakk Wylde, there's a rabbit hole for you to go down, because the guy is so underrated. Uh, and if not for Ozzy, there'd be no Zakk Wylde, you know. If not for Ozzy, there'd be no, you know, Jack Osbourne, Kelly Osbourne. There'd be so many things. Ozfest, you know, so many bands got launched out of Ozfest. And it's crazy, man. And yeah, I mean, I don't remember him touring. I think they brought Ozfest back like maybe 10 years ago for like a day or two, or maybe they had Rob Zombie headlining it, something like that. Saw Rob Zombie at Ozfest. So, but yeah, man, I feel differently about Ozzy than I do about Hulk Hogan. Now, like you said, I do think that Ozzy probably made some really bad mistakes throughout his life. But overall, I mean, he just presented himself as a good person and as a good character. And I don't know, maybe he has some racist stuff out there too that I don't know about. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, dude was born, in the 40s. Oh yeah, and then Ozzy did that covers album. Oh, dude, that he did an album where he covers like "Stayin' Alive" by the Bee Gees. Dude, amazing, pretty sweet. Some of my favorite songs from Ozzy. Uh, I mean, I love "Diary of a Madman." Not the. I mean, the album's great, but the song is so like that whole classical intro. I love "Suicide Solution." Um, I was listening to Perry Mason the other day. Great song. Um, Gets Me Through. Gets Me Through came out during that time when he was doing those Ozfest in the early 2000s. Gets Me Through. That album, that whole album he did. It's got Zach Wilde on guitar. It's got Mike Borden from Faith No More on drums. Rob Trujillo from Metallica on bass. Like, that album is heavy, man, and it's grooving. And yeah, dude, I love music. I love Ozzy. I love Black Sabbath. I don't love wrestling anymore. I still check into it from time to time, but yeah, man, it's Ozzy died. I think he was 75, 76, and to me, that's when I think I'm gonna die. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, this idea of me living to 80, 90 years old, I don't know, man. I know that lifespans keep going up, but it just seems like that's when everybody's time is between. I wanted to I didn't even want to live this long, but I've changed a lot recently. My point of view on life and what I want, and this comedy thing has really given me a lot of hope and excitement. Um, Even though it's frustrating and it's really hard when you have so many things going on in your personal life that are wearing you down, for sure. But uh, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I have some stuff pretty excited about. I just put out that video with my friend Jakey T, not Lee, Jakey T, and Rob C, the Rob Conroy Alpha Male Camp, and people seem to like it. It didn't get as many views as I wanted. Thanks, Chat GPT, for that recommendation on when to post. But uh, it it got a lot of likes, and it got quite a few shares. Um, and then I posted it on two subreddits. So on the comedy subreddit, it got like 9,000 views, which is nothing to complain about. And then I posted it on the Seattle, Washington subreddit, not the Seattle one, just the Seattle. So the Seattle, if you guys have ever been on Reddit, Seattle, Washington Reddit is somewhat conservative, more centrist, I believe. And then the straight up Seattle subreddit is super liberal. And so I didn't think the liberals could take a joke. So I didn't post it on there. But it got 4.5 thousand views on Seattle, Washington. So all in all, you add everything together, it's like up to 15,000 views. And with a third of them being in our local circle. And that's really all I care about right now, is just trying to get people into what I'm doing. And um, dude, this next month is going to be crazy. I'm so busy. And again, like I said, I have a lot of personal things happening that also makes things tough. But I'm going to be going to Tacoma at least 5 times. And at the beginning of this podcast, I told you I drive really far. So it's like I'm in Tacoma tonight. Tomorrow, I'm driving to Tacoma to see Big Jay Okerson, my buddy Jake, and we're going to watch. And Zach Summerfield is going to be featuring on that show or hosting, one of the two. And then on Sunday, got to be going back to Tacoma. And I signed up for this class thing, this hosting class for Tacoma Comedy Club. I have no idea if it's even happening. I didn't get a confirmation on it. And then Zach Summerfield is headlining at Six and Proctor at TCC. So I'll be going back Sunday. And then in a few weeks, I'm doing a show for this guy, Xavier Smith, in Seattle called They're Just Jokes. Zay Smith, good dude, basketball player, comedian. Then I'm going back to Tacoma for a couple open mics. So I got like the TCC downtown, the TCC 6th Avenue. And then the end of the month, August 20th, Robbie Schrader, my buddy, has a comedy special that he's going to be filming at the Shanghai Room on August 20th. So check that out. Robbie's a legend. He's been on the podcast a couple times. I absolutely love the guy. I love his comedy. And I'm going to go to that. And then I got to go pick my dad up from the airport because my dad is coming to visit for a few days. Why is he coming to visit? Because the 21st is my anniversary. Yeah, me and my wife celebrating our 10th anniversary. Not a lot of big plans. We have a couple plans, but nothing crazy. We wanted to go to Vegas, but just with everything that's going on, not working out. And then the 23rd, Tacoma Comedy Club doing a show with Cat C headlining. And I'm nervous about this one because there's so many people on the lineup. I'm like, dude, is anybody gonna get cut? What's going on? This isn't typically a Tacoma Comedy Club show has like many people on it. So yeah, so that's I've been waiting for that one for months. And Keegan Bell set that up. I'm really excited. Jesse Hooper is on that, and Mike Heath and Nelson Fine, a couple other people. That's a big one, man. That's the first time that I'm doing an actual show at Tacoma Comedy Club. I'm not doing an open mic, I'm not doing a contest, but it's a show. Even though it's a show that a friend hooked me up with, take what I can get. And then my birthday, August 25th, guys. I'm going to be 40 years old. Can't believe it. You know, the other day, I just feel like I was 20, 24, 25. I don't really have a lot of memories before that, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, man, 40 years old. And that I'm almost done. I'm about 2.5 years into comedy. So yeah, I don't know. By the time I'm 10 years in, it'll be like 47. We'll see where we're at. But yeah, man, I'm excited. Excited for the month of August. I'm excited to have some time off, and then also Labor Day weekend, have some more time off. Hopefully things get better at home, and I can update you guys when that comes up. But yeah, no, man, this was it. If you made it this far, you guys are the real ones. Shout out to you. Shout out to some of the homies, the real fans out there who watch this. I don't know everybody, but Andrew Harms, my number one guy, he watches this show. So shout out to you down there in California, JK, JP, my cousins. Shout out Scott Coburn, Casey Judson, Rob Conroy, Nick Cody, Sage Cameron. Are you watching? Hootie hoo. And yeah, dude, I am trying to do a podcast with Logan Cantrell and Zach, a couple other people. So if that happens, that's gonna be I'm really excited. New studio. It's coming up in Granite Falls at my garage. The studio is almost done. I'm really excited. I've been saying that. I said excited about 50 times. I think I'm just excited because I'm in Tacoma and I'm really hungry right now. Good to see Casey McLean. Good to see Xavier Rake. Good to see Stephen Ryan. And yeah, guys, that's it. One more time, follow me at Stephen MJ Comedy on all the socials. Stephen Michael James on TikTok. Buy some merch, and that's going to be this episode.
He's a force to be
Peace out.
reckoned. Comedy Simp, the podcast you can't resist. Stephen Michael James, the host you won't wanna miss. From Seattle to the world, his humor will persist. Join the fun, get ready to enlist. Spitting fire